Ron, how did Trey Turner look out there today?
Looked good. I believe he told you guys, he's going to take it day by day, and that's pretty much what we'll do with him. He looked good out there. His movement was good, so we'll see how he is tomorrow morning, though. They told you guys before, the big indicator is always how they are the next day.
Ron, is Shaq still sorting out some personal affairs?
Shaq will be back later today, so he's been excused all the way through.
Have you had a chance to speak with him and see how he's holding up?
Yeah, he's done well. He's hanging in there, and again, it's a very difficult time, and I know he really appreciates you guys not, saying anything about it.
And Ron, if and when Trey does come back, with Dennis playing so well on the left side, what do you guys do with Darrell Williams at that point?
We move guys around, and again, just having a guy back doesn't mean, that's going to cut time for anybody else as much as we got to figure out how to share time. We've got a good group of guys that are playing well, and we want to make sure we can continue that.
Greg Van Roten was saying that he thinks that if you look around the offensive line group, there are 9 guys that could be starters. How much of a luxury is that for yourself, Coach Masco, and Coach Tramel?
It's pretty good. We'll see how it goes. So again, we're fortunate. And again, one of the things that we always talk about is making sure we have position flexibility with those guys, and we got a good group. We got a group of guys that could, come in and play the different positions if we needed them to. And it's not ideal to have them all, play certain positions, but at least we have guys that we can plug in and feel pretty good about.
Ron, Kyle said that he thought this game was going to be the best it would be a good measuring stick for you guys. Do you think that it's fair to say this would be the best measuring stick maybe that you guys have faced so far, just because of the multiple things that offense and that defense are capable of?
Yes, very much so. I mean, they're an undefeated football team. They're playing very well. They're playing with a lot of confidence. As I said yesterday, I believe they were very well coached. I like the things that they do and the way they do them. They're very aggressive. They've got a lot of good players on the team, so it will most certainly be a good test for us to see exactly where we are as a football team.
Familiarity with Shanahan from his days in Atlanta.
That's it. But you look at some of the stuff they're doing. Obviously, is a little bit different. But the biggest thing that's different, obviously, is the talent. I mean, he's got a good group of guys. He had a very good group in Atlanta. I mean, they went to the Super Bowl with a group there, and now you're looking at the guys that are solid football players, very good football players. So he's done a nice job. They've done a nice job bringing those players to San Francisco.
Ron, what's your early impression on Greg Dortch, the attorney you guys brought in from New York?
Quick, very quick. He's from what I've seen on tape, he's a dynamic returner. A lot like what we had here earlier with Ray. And again, the biggest thing obviously is we've got to make sure he can catch the ball and secure it. That's probably the biggest thing that we want from him more so than anything else, and then we'll go from there.
Ron, Greg Van Roten was saying yesterday that one of the things about the 49ers defensive line, and so impressive more than just the fact that they have a million first-rounders, is that when they're trying to contain the run, they're doing that en route to rushing the passer. Is that different than what some other teams around the league do?
That's pretty much the attitude. These guys will play the run on their way to the quarterback. You want to get vertical as much as you can in your gaps of responsibility, and it's pretty much a prevailing attitude.
Coach, Ian Thomas is a player that showed some pretty good flashes last year. How's his development been this year, and is he where you thought that he would be at this point?
Well, the unfortunate part is he missed so much of training camp. And once that happens, you're in constant catch-up mode, and he was in catch-up mode for quite some time. Now he's starting to round out and pretty much get back to where he was last year. So we can expect more things from Ian as we're continuing to go forward.
Ron, how is Don Poe playing for you?
Don Terry's playing very well. He's done a nice job. He's it's interesting because one of the things that goes sometimes unheralded when pass rush is going well and you're getting a lot of sacks from your outside guys is just the fact that you've got a good inside push, and he's contributed mightily to that. I mean, he's done a nice job, taking up space on the inside, allowing our linebackers to run. But when it comes to pass situations, he's getting vertical. He's pushing that pocket a little bit, and he's helping those outside guys, because when the quarterback can't step up, he's hanging out there like a sitting duck, and our guys have been able to get there. And for the most part, that whole group of defensive tackles with their inside rush has been very good.
With a lot of teams that run multiple running backs, 2, 3, 4-headed monsters, they seem like they have different roles, but the guys in San Francisco seem pretty similar. Does that make it harder on your defense when you just bring in a fresh back and you're just constantly running the same scheme?
No, I think the only big difference is the back is fresh. I mean, if you put them both in there at the same time, it creates some things which they do. but when you only have one back in there at a time, that's who the back is. I mean, it's it's funny because, I hear people talk about other teams and talk about three-headed monsters or all the receivers they have or all the tight ends they have, but just remember there's only one football, and so when you distribute it, and I always talk about it, you want to try and distribute it as evenly as possible. When he does things that he does in terms of putting the two backs in there, now you're really trying to figure it out. But I do agree with you. I think all three backs are very similar in their abilities. I think all three backs are dangerous runners with the ball, especially in space. I think all three guys are good receivers out of the backfield, and they're willing to step up and block as well when you watch their protections. He's got three quality running backs in this league, and that's a luxury to have three quality ones like they do. And again, when they're in there, like I said, there's just one football though.
Ron, you had some transactions today. A guy like DeAndrew, will he be more special teams or?
Yes, but again, we really got a good feel for him at the end of the year, when end of training camp, when you really saw him play very, very well against Pittsburgh, and just knowing that, hey, this is his third year with us. He's shown those flashes. He's got a feel for what we're doing, and he was an obvious choice for us. But he is most certainly a special teams guy, and we're going to give him an opportunity if he's up to play special teams for us.
You feel like guys that
I
are-
assume Cam has been throwing from a stationary point of view over the past couple weeks, but has he started throwing again mobily at all, like using his feet or trying to move around with the ball?
Well, he's been doing all the drills that RV has set up for him. You guys saw probably the most extensive drills we've had with him here. So for the most part, that's what he's working on.
You guys were looking at drafting Christian a few years ago. What about the 2015? Did anything of that season where he kind of burst onto the scene that really stood out to you?
Well, it's as we said, if you go back and look at 2015 and 2016, his 2 years, two major years in college, where he had all the production. The thing that was impressive about him was, and I've said this before, is he ran the ball between the tackles more than anybody else in college football. Go back and look it up, and you'll see that. I mean, he was very durable, very flashy in terms of his ability to make plays. He did not just play, as a running back. They split him out as a receiver, which we do as well. But you also saw him return kicks and punts. I mean, he was pretty much multifaceted. And again, probably the thing that stuck out to us was just the fact that he ran between the tackles more than anybody.
How different or similar is what they are asking of Richard Sherman compared to what he used to have to do on those Seahawks defenses?
Looking at some of the coverages they have, it's a little bit different from what they did in Seattle. Seattle seems to be a little bit more cover 3, middle closed oriented. You see some quarters, some cover 2 stuff out of him. He's still a dangerous player in this league. He plays with great vision. He's got tremendous quickness. He's got great reflexes. He anticipates well. I mean, he's still playing at a high level. I know last year coming off the injury, it's good for him to be back on the field. I mean, he's important to what they do on defense.
Obviously, Kyle has a lot of experience in the NFL as an OC, but as his third year and a head coach, when you kind of went for your first year, second year, third year, how much is that growth early on as a head coach?
Well, I think it's huge. I mean, he's been very fortunate. I mean, he started coaching at a very, very young age. It's been around it his whole life. He's got a great role model in his father. And so I think he's learned a lot. And each year, your growth as the guy making the decision, is huge. Like I've said this before, the biggest mistake I had early on was I didn't have a former NFL head coach on my staff. He's had the luxury of having his father around so he can bounce ideas off, and I think he's done a great job. I really do. I like where they are. I like who they're becoming. I think they're going to be they can be a force for a while in this league.
They've kind of built their team with that ground running game and defense that you obviously have had throughout your tenure. Does it kind of make you happy to see a team have success with that style?
It does. And another one is up in Buffalo, looking at what Sean McDermott's done with the Bills. I think that's really kind of another great indicator. And, by the way, it's 3 years, and sometimes you got to grind it out. Sometimes you've got to stick with it. And, Sean had a great, is having a great run right now. Kyle's having a great run. You see guys build it, do it the right way. They work well with their general managers, from my perspective. And it's just kind of neat to see. It really is. And I do agree. It's good to see guys that work hard at what they do and, over time build things the right way.
Ron, what do you think of their tight end, George Kittle? And when a team has a skilled guy like that, how challenging is that?
It's very challenging because, again, a guy through the middle of your defense can be very troublesome. I mean, because, he has the ability to get vertical because he's a good athlete, runs well. They use him many different ways in terms of through the middle of your defense, not just going vertical, but going across and through it. You watch him, they try to single him up. They see that you're in man coverage, and if he's isolated on the single side, they'll go to him. You'll see him, they run the fly sweep with him. So he's a multi-talented athlete. He's a very good football player.
Troy Boston said that Jimmy Garoppolo is playing Tom Brady-esque. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, you can say that. I mean, shoot, he was his understudy for years. So, and he really doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He really doesn't. He's a very deliberate football player. He seems to be a very smart guy, understands the game, and he's athletic. And so, guys like that have been in this league a while, that understand how to do things, they can pose a lot of problems for you because they can make decisions, make quick decisions, good decisions. They keep you off balance.
Coach, back to Kittle, where does the onus fall when a guy like him is as versatile as he has been? Is it falling D-line, linebackers, all 11 on the defense? I mean, where's the responsibility?
Well, I think the responsibility is really through the middle of your defense as well, because that's for the most part where he is. So, you'll have anybody from a safety to a linebacker on him, and sometimes, when he's moving around, shifting and motioning, he'll go from a linebacker to a safety in terms of responsibilities.
Does having a linebacker, kind of that hybrid linebacker like Shaq, help with guys like Kittle specifically?
Yes, well, yes, it does. When you have a guy like Shaq and he can cover he can cover tight ends, he can cover backs, he can cover wide receivers. That's a huge luxury, especially in this league, because the way people are using these athletes now. You see them constantly being moved around and put in the backfield, put out as wide receivers. They can cause some problems for you.
Ron, you mentioned that rain game of the 49ers a couple times yesterday. Did that make it hard to analyze or study and break that tape down at all?
To a degree it did, but he still does what he does. When you watch the tape, you see the same formations, the shifts, the motions, you see the running plays, you see the pass plays, you see the third down situations. They got a little bit more conservative, once they had a good lead, near the end of the game, and they really did try to run it. I think they run the ball more than anybody right now in the league as well. So it was a little hard, but for the most part, like I said, he still did what he does.
Good.
All right, cool.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.